Everybody, Texas Trucker here, Lance's Performance Shop, along the Star Mopars.com. Wednesday night, 7:50. See the pink? Yeah, it's Valentine's Day, roughly. It's a week ago. And, haven't had time to change that watch filler. But it's 72 right now. And that's crazy. It was 80 plus this afternoon. Granted, it was super windy. But I open with that because one of these first items we're going to look at, I was going over there grabbing some other things, doing some pre-research for you. Lo and behold, I had to step back, grab a wire brush, and go like that because there was a wasp on a box of, what is in that box? Oil or something. And yeah, that was unexpected for February 21st. But nonetheless, what is not unexpected is another KC tool haul. This one, this is the oldest stuff I like to showcase, mixed with some stuff from like October and November. Why? It worked that way. And anytime you place an order at KC Tool, you get a bit of thanks. Currently, as of recording, shipping is a number 2 Phillips from VIT. And at the time of this purchase, and maybe the other one, you're getting a German tool sticker pack. So, mystery stickers abound, but this definitely was German tool sticker pack territory. So, we're going to get started, and I am going to throw these down. And I'm going to throw these down. You're like, whoa, hey, what? Slow down. No part numbers, no prices, none of that. Which reminds me, I also need to grab some papers and throw those down over here. This is the most recent stuff. And actually, these are not. They tie in with what's the most recent. These I've had for a long time. I don't know how long, but quite some time. These, sadly, unbeknownst to me, I guess I didn't clean up what I had been cutting. It looked like a bunch of stranded wire, and I guess these must have had some oil on them, and I guess that oil dried up, because guess what happened when I picked these up and set them down over there a second ago? Shing! Yeah, copper waterfall. So that was fun, but I haven't cut a ton with these, but they've definitely been used, and obviously. And then this pair right here, I absolutely love this pair of pliers. I think this was my very first pair of Stahlwilles. Might have had a dipped handle come first, but they're kind of, you think, oh, that's undersized, I don't like it. It's a really, really nice length. It's also pretty compact. Again, VBW, a Stahlwille's plier branch, if you will. These, let's see if we get lucky here. Hey, we did. Just like the wasp, I was not expecting that. If you look at the end, you'll see a 60 in front of that, kind of blurred out as a 1. That's 160. That's your overall length in millimeters. That is important when I give you this item, which is going to be Stahlwille's 65-29 snipe nose cutters. They feature the polished head, which I think those do too. And these are slightly shorter, clocking in at 140. So I don't know. Let's just jump to this. Okay, so there's that tool, and here's this tool. And this tool and this tool are identical. Okay, this one again slightly smaller in the bag than what we have here. You're thinking like, okay, well, why on earth would you do that? This bag and this bag represent clearance items. I tell you this all the time. You know, I'm sitting there, whether it's tool of the day or there's something I have to get. Sometimes what I have to buy is cheap, you know, and I'm like way away from the freight mark. And I think, well, surely there's some stuff I need. You go to the wish list, see what's in stock. Because obviously if it's something in stock that I'm needing, I don't want to wait, you know, or like send in a message and say, hey, can you ship this early? You know, the other thing's back ordered for whatever reason, amount of time. I look for stuff that's in stock, ready to go, and one of the ways I do that is I check the clearance section. And you think, oh, clearance, nobody wants that outdated, you know, superseded stuff. Give us the new stuff. So many times, like I finally broke down and asked a while back, I was like, hey, why is this stuff on clearance? And the response was, it's just kind of at random. If KC Tool bought, you know, this pair of pliers, and you know, they might have sold like 20 in, you know, 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden it stops. But they order and they're like, good Lord, you know, somehow people are buying these things. What's the deal? This is crazy. You know, it's kind of like if you run a hot dog stand, right? And you've had lemonade and no one ever really buys the lemonade. And then one day, you know, this lady buys the lemonade and she comes back and she gets another lemonade and she says, hey, get me 4 of these. I'm taking them to the office. And so you sell her 5 lemonades in the afternoon. And the next day she comes back and then she brings a coworker with her. And then later in the afternoon she comes back and she orders, you know, 8. She's going to have some for the whole crew, basically. And then the next day, you know, she comes in the morning and she just buys 16. And you're like, oh, this lady loves the lemonade. Very cool. And then next thing you know, like all her coworkers that also like the lemonade, they start coming on the weekend or sending their family members when they're off. And you went from selling a ton of lemonade or no lemonade to a ton of lemonade. And then on the flip side, you know, it falls out of flavor, right? You know, literally, she finds some other food trailer and she starts buying green tea. And you're sitting there and you're like, well, I'm the lemonade stand now. I sell more lemonade than hot dogs. And, you know, never thought, but hey, we're making money, doing great. Let's go. And then she quits coming. And it's less and less. And it might just drop off precariously all at once. So there are times like stuff that's on clearance. Like I've picked up Hazette 916 HPs on clearance. And it makes no sense. It's in production. It's, you know, a deal where if they've got something that sat on the shelf, or they have a ton of something, or maybe they're just like, hey, we need to move this stuff, get some new inventory in, boom, clearance. And these were stupid cheap. And based on this, I thought, I am not going to let that pass me by. Now, the reason these are currently staying in the bag, I did think when I bought these, I had the same dilemma. I was like, oh, I could use those at work. I didn't recall the exact length of these. I knew it was like sub 8 inches. And I thought, you know, that'd actually kind of be pretty handy. And then my other thing, my nephew's favorite color is green, and not, you know, you think of Tool green and you think of like Sublime, right? Limelight, bright Mopar colors. He actually likes the darker green. It's hard to find that stuff. Stahlwille, you know, Heiko, those are like 2 of the few companies where you can get like a true green, not like a Sublime or a lime green. I kind of want to give these to him, and that's why they're going to stay sealed. But conveniently for you, I have, you know, very, very similar and the exact same thing. So this will either go to my work cart and represent the Stahlwille faction, or it will go to my nephew. I'm thinking I'll do that. He's got a birthday coming up, and I've slowly been trying to sneak things in, like get his opinion and thoughts on different tools, and I'm thinking they'll be his. But, if for some reason he's like, oh, I really like these, and he's like using my icon pliers, like, oh, well, okay. And then these go to work. And if you're curious why I would have those at work, and you're like, oh, I've seen you bring in a lot of like Ghidorah and Knipex for work. Well, we did. And I do the same thing there. But the cool thing is I'm at work a whole lot more than I'm at home. So these would get wrecked in a hurry. We get to, you know, torture them, you know, not like by design, but just by necessity. They get heavy use, daily basis stuff, and I can just go in and I open the drawer just like I do here, and it's awesome to have choices. And I like, I feel like Stahlwille today. Like if it's St. Patrick's Day, I'm thinking green, boom, Stahlwille Day. And that's literally what I do. Some days I open the drawer and I'm like, I think I'll use the, you know, I grab this pair over here just based on whatever I feel like. So sometimes the size does dictate, and again, it is nice to have something small. But I think those are going to be a birthday present, so we shall see. Now, that was the most recent. What comes kind of halfway between this and the far in the past item, which is probably going to be your favorite item from this video, is this. This is something I was, not going to lie, excited about. And when you see it, you'll be like, oh, seriously, dude. And fear not, it is not screwdrivers. No. This is not screwdrivers. It will kind of tie in with the last item. Sort of. This is Stahlwille's part number 8045003. Price point, at least when I brought this in, which was June, a long time ago. And it was brand new around that time, maybe like a couple weeks old. $16.80. You think like, what could you get from Stahlwille for $16.80 that is not a screwdriver? And it's obviously not pliers on clearance, because you would have just thrown them down now. must be more of the polished hex keys, right? Well, there's your hint. There's the bag, obviously. Well, it's not in there. It's in my hand. And let's just throw it down. You're thinking like, that's a socket rail. Yeah, it is a Stahlwille branded socket rail. Conveniently, you can see the logo there. And it immediately, the reason I didn't buy one ASAP, right before they became available solo, they had them with sockets. And I was thinking like, now they do this? As I like, procured some. I still have a lot of Stahlwille sockets I want to get. And the rails aren't a terrible price. I'm sort of thrifty and holding out for like tool of the day, which I don't know if that'll ever happen. But at the same time, I really wanted to bring these in and check them out. This was around the time I like made the revelation that all these pegs interchange, like Koken and Olsa and cheap stuff and expensive stuff. It all is the same dynamics, right? Well, this, if you look at it, obviously it's a unique color. If you hate red, if you hate black, that's your kind of stereotypical colors. This is sort of a gray. That's exactly what I would call it. For your contrast here, if I can get this in the right light for you, these are definitively black, the pegs. Hopefully that gives you an idea. It's a dark gray. I think it looks pretty good. Now, sadly, if you actually use this and space your sockets, which is going to be a necessity, you're going to cover up the logo, but it's there. Maybe if it's like a sparse set, maybe this is like some 3/8 Torx or something, you could ding, 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 kind of fill it that way. You do you. But if I highlight the features here, you can see like I can't take this off the back because of this peg, right? It's molded, part of the overall deal. So it's not going to slide off, protects it from sliding out. This tab right here, you can press it down, you can take these off. Like if we just needed 9, there's 10 of these, obviously. If we needed 9, I can slide one off. We don't have to worry about it. And this was the pre-research. Okay. I've got this. I don't remember if that's Olsa or off of an Astro set. I usually write on the bottom. I did not do that there for some reason. And I've got this. And you're thinking like, whoa, what's that red one? Oh, hey, look. There's that little feature you just told us about. Well, this is from a Wright impact socket set. Obviously, it was 1/2-inch drive. Obviously, we're not using it. There's the Wright labeling for you. And it has their logo here in the middle as well. If I slide this back, and this does say made in the USA on this one. I'm inclined to believe that, but it could be wrong. Maybe this is all sourced out of Taiwan. Who knows? But right here, check this out. You got 2 things to look at. You've got this little stopper, and you've got this. And if you think like, oh, that's kind of like a Knipex-esque diamond there. There's that. What is that? You can either like drill it to a piece of wood, you can attach some, you can hang it on a hook, pegboard, what have you, and go to town that way. But check this out. If you recall, the Koken, which is a really nice anodized aluminum one with magnets, I bought these dirt cheap pegs. Okay, this is like cheapest way to get these. Let's say that we had 11 strips that we needed on this rail. Again, this is straight from the Koken bag. And I just come in, boom. Locked and loaded. Can I prove it? 1, Koken. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. These are the initial 10. So, if, like I said, maybe you've got an 8-piece 3/8 drive set, and you're thinking like, yeah, I really like that rail. It's hard to find those individually. This is great. I'm going to buy it. I like Stahlwille anyway. Don't care if I'm going to put cheap or Koken or whatever sockets on it. Guess what? If you just need 8 pegs, you can slide 2 of them off of this one, and you can interchange it with any of that stuff. I'll try to remember to put a little card thing up in the corner for you if you haven't seen that video. But it's crazy that we've got another option now. When I checked, this said it was made in Germany. Sometimes stuff like this, you think, no, it's not. It's got to be overseas. You would think that with the Wright one too, but it specifically says made in the USA. Granted, that could be like tied in with their logo, but think of Ernst. That's US based, right? We know this is not Ernst. However, I can tell you this, okay? If you think back with me, Gador, what do? They have got a deal with Mechanics Time Savers, and you can kind of get, it's not the fancy one with the labels, at least here in the US, but they've got the base, you know, twist lock deal, and you can pick that up in Ghidorah colors with a Ghidorah logo. There's also Stahlwille has a couple of tools that are actually made in America, so it's certainly possible that they would come and source these out, you know, if they can get a good deal. It's far, far from unheard of. So the bottom line, it's a really nice piece, fairly reasonable, and again, if you love that style is the big deal. Sometimes that particular style is sort of hard to find. But again, it interchanges with so many. Same thing, like maybe you want this because you invested in a Stahlwille hex kit, right? And so you've got 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch drive sizes. You could come in and buy the dirt cheap Koken pegs, or if you have extras from Olsa, Harbor Freight, Koken, whatever, you could just populate it and use this rail for your 9-piece hex bit set, right? So really cool deal at $16. What do I have planned with it? Well, Stahlwille's sockets. I love them. In fact, let's come over here. I've got one. And you think, oh, cool, put it on the rail for us. Well, I can't. It's 1/2 inch drive. That'll tie in with something here shortly. German companies across the board, particularly Ghidorah, which I am a big fan of their sockets, their shallow sockets are not egregiously priced. I feel like they're very fair, competitive. If you catch the right promotion, sale, or clearance, I bought so many of the Ghidorah sockets on clearance, which think of like a mistake on tool of the day in your favor plus some. That's kind of how cheap we're able to procure some of those. I have them in there, and they're on MTS friction pegs and a couple of Ernst rails, and I've always kind of like, you know, in either iteration, it's a 2-row deal with the MTS friction peg, and it's 2-row trays because they don't have semi-deeps with the Ernst stuff. And what kills me, I've purchased one deep. Now, to Stahlwille's credit, I don't have deeps from other companies, but Stahlwille's deep, it's like I'd hate to say extra deep, because you can get like some ridiculously deep sockets, right? You know, if you specifically shop and need that. But for a deep socket, they're extra deep, right? You know, not the extreme, but like you're like, whoa, hey, that is a socket right there. And it sort of helps justify the price. But at the same time, I'm still like, oh, that's a lot of money. It's really hard for me when I'm like, the shallows, I could say, hey, you know, if that's what I want and I'm patient, I can get a deal. It's competitive with almost anything. Koken is very hard to beat, especially with a sale. The only company I can really do that, sometimes Wright gets pretty straight across comparable, but Proto, which again, I'm tried and true, I've got years of history with, that's why you see me bring that stuff in. I can sometimes source Proto like for fractions of what I can Koken on a good deal. And that makes it difficult, but what I'm getting at, in the event that I somehow gave up on my quest, which I don't think we'll do, but it could be years in the making, literally what it will kind of come down to, if there's an awesome tool of the day and it's like $62, I know I can go in and find a deep Stahlwille socket that will get me free freight and come to me piece by piece, slowly over the years and the orders, right? That seems stupid, but, you know, it's nothing. I don't have to have a Stahlwille deep socket. It would be really nice to. So it's not like dire straits. It's not a must-own type of a deal. If it is, you know, if I'm like, hey, I just got the length from the catalog, that socket is perfect, yeah, we'll pull the trigger on that immediately. But for everything else, until there's like a sale, which will probably happen when I'm like at the 75% completion mark, you know, you're missing like an 18 and a, I don't know, maybe the 11, you can cross it over to 7/16. That's all I'm down to. Then the 10 through 19 set goes on tool of the day. It's just the way life works. But if I had to ditch my 2-rail Ernst and my MTS friction pegs or do something else with them, these little rails would be pretty dadgum cool for just my shallow sockets. And that's kind of what I was wanting. But they have a deal where you can get all 3 drive sizes of blanks. quarter, 3/8, and half, obviously the pegs being included. I think the counts might be slightly different. But before I committed that, I was like, well, I need to bring this in to make sure I like it before we shell out a lot of money on them. It's pretty much right in a different color, and it says Stahlwille. So take from that what you will. Now, if you're saying like, oh, get that stupid socket out of here, I can't. I really can't. Because we need this. And we also need this. And you think, okay, well, things just ratcheted up nicely. You had told us there would be a tie-in, the socket, okay, it's making sense now. Why did I do 3/8 drive, though? This was a thing I had to stop. You know, keep in mind, I bought that in June. I think my logic was I had the 1/2" shallow pretty well built out, and I wasn't sure that it would fit. And if you're thinking like, well, how many 3/8 Stahlwille sockets do you own? The answer, very sadly, is 0. I was sort of thinking like, this could be my little, you know, if I, ooh, hey, I'm at the $70 mark, let me get a 3/8 10mm and just slowly build it out. Who knows what will happen, but I needed to see that before I committed to it, and it serves a backup auxiliary role for us, so kind of a win-win. That said, the sockets that I do have from Stahlwille, a quarter, which are in a set, and 1/2", which we got 10, 13, 17, 19 German efficiency here with this guy. That was in like a Christmas Advent-y type thing, and the rest we've just built out. But this guy right here is my most disappointing Stahlwille ratchets. The first one, which I think was either, it might have been the quarter or the 3/8, one or the other, I don't really remember now, but there was that little set of quarter that I always, you see it in the Ram Revival in the truck. It's my interior setup. It's just super handy, has a magnet, has a stubby screwdriver, has bits, just a great little set. That is buttery smooth. The 3/8 with the same handle, buttery smooth. Like the 3/8 is ridiculously good. This one, it's more like I just grabbed, you know, like my old Pittsburgh from, you know, the summer of 2001, right? It performs really well. I use it all the time. I always hope it'll sort of break in. You can see, again, any chance I get and I pick this one, it takes it. It does well. I've had several of you tell me yours, especially from the same kit, was the same way. I've still never taken the time to take this apart and lubricate it or see if it had anything or was bone dry. But there's that, okay? So 1/2", standard, quick release, great. 3/8 and quarter. This has been fine. It's just disappointing compared to their other drive sizes. I don't know why. It just is. Now enter this. And you're thinking like, oh yeah, your 3/8 flex. No, this is the 1/2" one. And, this thing has been pretty... We haven't had this one in use very long. This would have come birthday-ish. Again, thanks, Colin. But birthday time-ish, February, somewhere in there, of this past year. And quite frankly, I've been rocking so many roto heads, kind of testing those. This has sort of been on the back burner, but it's a bit smoother than that guy. Again, the 3/8 and quarter are otherworldly compared to their 1/2" drive sizes. This one performs better, in my opinion, than that one. But some time ago, I guess it was April, let me flip the page here so I can give you an exact date. On April 10th, 2023, a day that will live in infamy, got a package from KC Tool, and this thing is 200, or it was 200 when it came in. I think that's probably when I documented the price. We did not pay that. I'm very confident this was tool of the day, and this is totally something that we don't need, and I didn't really have to check it out, but it was too cool not to. All right, Stahlwille, we're going to come in. This is their 516. If you want the exact part number, it's going to be 13160000. And well, here she is in the bag. I have used this once. I kind of had to. I was just like, okay, we're gonna go to town and see what we think. And if you're thinking like, okay, well, hey, that's gonna be, looks to be a mirror image of your 1/2" drive handle. We'll just even grab the standard one for you. If I can get my hand out of the way, yeah. So let's see, you've got standard, you've got flex. Ah, okay. They released a long one, right? Or is this just a stubby? Could be anything, right? Oh, well, it's not stubby. Yeah, well, that kind of blew it. But yeah, it could be extra long. Like, oh, hey, not a quick release. That looks like a different lever. There's an L and an R on there. You don't usually see that with the Stahlwilles. We're accustomed to seeing on the channel. What's this switch? You know, is this like a lightsaber? Nope. It's a telescopic ratchet. And I have gotten to a point, if you think back, this does something special for us. And you're thinking like, yeah, break stuff free, right? It was like a breaker bar. Yeah, it'll do that, but what I want to know from you, veteran viewers of the channel, what will this allow us to do? I'm just going to leave it at that. What will that allow us to do in terms of a video? Think about it. Leave a comment. Consult with your friends, what have you. Let me know what you think that is going to allow us to do. I could do some things right now, but I'm not going to. We're going to wait, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool video. But this particular thing is just kind of absurd. Now, they did do something, I don't want to say it's controversial, but it's different. And I've been working out a lot with some new Captains of Crush. Let me just, oh no, I ripped the head off. Oh, great. $200 telescopic ratchet down the drain. Not quite. That is actually a design feature. Captain Crush couldn't do that, sadly. Right here, this head comes off, and you're like, oh, cool, you know, like it's kind of old school, you know, half, 3/4 stuff, always had the heads that come off, you know, so it fits in the space better. You can interchange it maybe. That's what I wanted to know. One of my questions, when this had come out, which was very soon before I think it went on Tool of the Day, one of the things I hit Colin up with is I was like, hey, just out of curiosity, are there any other heads that fit this thing? And he thought it was like, oh, hey, you know, that's pretty cool. And, I don't know if it's changed. I probably should have been keeping better tabs on it, but at the time of my purchase and then conversing with him shortly after, there are not. I don't know if that's something Stahlwille would say, and if I had a 3/4, you know, ratchet and the head comes off, I could plug it in. I do not know the, you know, specs. I don't know if they're thinking like, hey, this is people's gateway, and we're going to come in and we're going to sell a 3/8 and a 3/4, and we're going to put them in a foam kit. I don't know what they have planned for the future. They might not have any plans for the future. I don't quite know why they went this route. I don't know if it's like, okay, people are going to reef on this. It's a built-in cheater bar, basically. Heads are going to shatter. Parts are going to go flying. Let's make it easy. They take the head off and send that back to us, or we ship them a head. They don't have to buy the handle. It could be that simple. It could be like, okay, people are going to break this, and they're going to want to buy a replacement head. Let's let them buy that much, much more reasonably by keeping their old handle, which will be fine. I don't know what the logic is. It could be some of that. It could be all of that. It could be none of that. I just know that this thing here leaves me wanting personally. If I could get a 3/8 and a 3/4, what would you ever use 3/8 like this? Like this? Oh yeah, that would be pretty sweet. Maybe these first couple. Past that, you're kind of flirting with disaster. But 3/4, obviously, of 1/2 inch suffices here. 3/4 would be good. So that's an unknown to me. And like I said, it could be developing. It could just be a courtesy for us. You know, like if a guy comes in and spends $200 on this ratchet, he's probably going to break it. It's easily serviceable, but if things go really bad, you know, we'll take care of him, and we'll make the head easily remove, and he can just swap a new one on. I don't know. I hope to see at least a 3/4. That would be super cool, because then I wouldn't have to spend $200. I could probably spend like 60 to 80, I would guess, get the 3/4 head, and boom, you know, 2 tools in one type of a thing. But yeah, this is it's pretty sweet, and it's a unique take. I do actually like this button. It's something that's kind of different, and it's pretty easy to articulate. We're about to time out. Give me 1 second. All right, we're back. While I had to prevent the timeout, I went ahead and pulled up the spec sheet here from KC Tools website, and this is what I want to iterate back home to you. So this essentially has 5 different lengths. You're going to have a 410 millimeter, 465, 520, 575, and 630 millimeters. So max length 630. Interestingly enough, there is one review on it, and it pretty much hits on everything I had said. And I think we're just going to go ahead and read it. So DT, whoever it may be, on April 10th, 2023, was clearly an early adopter of this if he had a review. I've used it a few times and it works great. The extra leverage provided by the telescoping function is handy. The ratchet head is held on with a pin, which we've showcased. And it has a bit of movement due to the pin size smaller than the hole in the ratchet head. Doesn't bother me, but it may bother some. Like I said, I think that pretty well would be the Cliff Note version of everything that you've seen me do there. So, what I was going to tell you right here, I love the rocker switch. Again, pretty unique. It's also very, very easy to articulate. Might be the most simplistic thing to do. Other options, you might have a spin-on lock collar. You might have a button elsewhere. This is literally, it's kind of like a little Pico rocker switch, you know, like if you threw some stuff in your race car. But, this is what the reviewer was talking about. Since this is a removable head, this is not, okay, if I get this down here and I just kind of grasp here, keep your eye here and one eye here if you can. Note that the handle is kind of staying linear and the head is going side to side. Now, clearly it's limited in how far it's going to travel, again, by the pin, but it is something that could be viewed negatively. Just like the review said, doesn't bother him, might bother some. The thing to take away, if you need this, it's not necessarily because of this length here. It's because you have the option of going to this length. Might not need that. You might wind up somewhere here physically. Maybe you're not able to go that far due to an obstruction. But this is basically, again, just kind of a gateway. The telescopic ratchet gives you so much more leverage, and instead of you having to buy probably the extra long version of standard, and then like the extra long, and then like their absurd circus item, you have it all in one tool, and it does get compact enough that this conceivably could be used as, you know, like your standard 1/2-inch drive ratchet. The head itself, I want to say it's 36 tooth. Now, it doesn't perform anything like their newer finer tooth mechanisms, but it just sounds so good. This is like a cammed small block if I shut up. Like if you had to pick a tool to replicate the sounds of Van Halen's Hot for Teacher startup, it would be this. You know, it just has a really good sound. Now, the thing that's great about 36 teeth in this application, like there's nothing great about 36 teeth in this application, idiot. There is in terms of the durability. If you came in and you had their 80 tooth mechanism here, it's going to be more likely to fail than the 36 tooth. It's just the trade-off. 36 teeth have been around a long, long time. They're not as fine, they're coarse, they're rough, they're not as precise, but they are a well-oiled machine. That is kind of what you would ideally want in this application. Could there be some happy medium at 60 or 72? Sure, whatever. But if you're using this, it's not because you're in a hurry. It's because you need leverage, okay? If you're in a hurry, get your 3/8 or your quarter, or heck, even your standard half. Which, man, this feels like a feather after handling this guy. But it's pretty cool, and like I said, for the veteran viewers of the channel, this has opened the door to do something really cool, and I hope you know what it is. Now, real quick, I want to do kind of a comparison. Interesting thing, you would think like between a 36 tooth setup and this, that, you know, you might have like a way slimmer profile or something. I would say it's negligible, if not identical. We could bust out, you know, the dial calipers and everything, but we'll just roll with this. I'm going to say it's the same profile. Now, clearly, our internals are different. Clearly, there's not a quick release. Okay, clearly, the selector switch and the R&L is different. Also, you'll note, this is a FOD. What is that? Foreign object, falling object damage, right? Think aviation. Think, oh, I don't want this fastener to drop down into a turbine. Okay. This is kind of more old school. This is kind of more like, hey, you use that, you know, to bust something free and put it away, buddy. You've got the selector switch, which we can kind of see pinned through here. And then here, we've got tiny, tiny Phillips screws that are just going to hold the case, sort of more old school, traditional. Again, that's kind of where this is going to shine, is in that element of just break something free and survive to tell the tale, right? So, overall length comparison, there you have your 1/2-inch drive standard versus this guy. I'd say, what would that be? Not quite double the length, but let's go with like maybe 150%. We could just roughly call it that. The flex head, as you may have guessed, as with most flex heads, you will have a considerably longer profile. If we go handle to handle here, it's not just the hinge joint is here and then that pushes the head up. This is actually a bit longer, which is kind of cool, because if you do invest, or you love the Stahlwille lineup, you have these 3 drive tools and you've got 3 unique options at different lengths. Now, in terms of the flex head versus our telescopic, look at that. The telescopic is just a shade smaller, so take from that what you will. Now, to put it in perspective though, if we come here and go to stop 1, or really I guess 2, depends how you look at it. Now you're just a head, literally a head above. We come here to the next stop. There's your difference. Again, I've got these as close as I can in my palm. Right here, handle to handle. This is your difference in leverage. And last but not least, max extension. That is your difference. So considerably different. And again, the flex head, you know, you would put a lot of strain on that. Here, you're kind of straining that. I will tell you, for as much play as the head does have, which, not gonna lie, it does kind of bother me, at the same time, I know it's not gonna impact the functionality much. This right here with the tracking, it has play, but it is not as bad as you would think. Like when you look down the barrel here and you think like, okay, well, you've got the detents. I would say the head has decent bit more than you have there, so it's all sort of negligible if this is something that you're in the marketplace for. You do have other options, but from Stahlwille, this is what you've got. So, with that said, I think we've kind of covered everything. Again, socket fitment here. Again, at one time, I've used this once. I'm so used to the quick release. I was like, what's the problem? I'm like, oh yeah. Right here, you can see it beautifully. This is the 13. Let me get it right by the mic for you. We'll go in reverse. It's just got a really nice sound to it. I know that's irrelevant, aside from just the pure enjoyment aspect of it. But pretty solid deal. The other thing of note, when I pulled up the website listing, I told you, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure this thing, you know, is 200, but we got it on Tool of the Day. If you're in awe with this thing and you're like, I gotta get it, $173.04, the price has come down since it launched, which is pretty cool. This doesn't actually say 36 tooth, but I feel pretty confident that it is. So, yeah, I don't know why the listing wouldn't advertise it, but these are typically just taken straight from Stahlwille. Pretty sure at some point in time, granted, you know, this was like 10 months ago, I think it's 36, maybe it's not, but it's definitely a coarser mechanism than what you're accustomed to here with our 80 tooth. So With that said, I'm in need of some water. I actually brought a drink with me out here to the shop tonight, so that's a win. I'm going to grab some of that, regroup, probably try to crank out another video, and we'll take it from there. So, not the most exciting thing, maybe, but we did super, super good there. Again, this was a tool of the day purchase. This little strip right here. It might be something that you want. It might be something, again, like let's say that you have Wright sockets and you love this and you have some extra ones, or you've lost a rail. You can pick that up. It may not be the right color. You might want it to be a different color. They do blue. This is red for SAE. Sadly, blue with Wright is metric, which is terrible. Not my color system. But if you've got, say, heck, their hex bits or Torx or something, and you're like, I want that color coded, put it on that gray, and you've got the same style rail that you know and love. But yeah, we will hopefully someday populate that with Stahlwille sockets. But, for now, we have half-inch drive covered, and covered quite nicely. So if you're thinking like, man, you should pull out the tape measure and give us exact lengths and everything, I agree, I should, but like I said, we might have something in mind for that. Just real quick, we'll do a simple one end to end, roughly 16 inches. And full extension. Again, I know I can't fit that in the frame for you. You'll just have to take my word for it. We're at 24 and a half. If you want to be technical, it'd be a little longer than 16 and a little longer than 24 and a half, but 16 to 24 inches. Which is great. I find 20 to 24 inches is a really good length for a breaker bar, so we now have this to throw in and add to the gauntlet. Obviously, changing tires. This beats having the flex head, it beats having a standard, it beats possibly, if you're space constrained, having a tire iron type of deal with you. Lots of things you can do there. Is it for everyone? No, but a telescopic ratchet is super cool and very, very useful. Definitely recommend you consider it if you're in the need. Again, I personally would recommend breaker bars when possible. Sometimes you need to like condense and save weight or space. You need one tool. If the ratchet can survive, that's superior action after something's broken free, because let's face it, with that length, you typically aren't going to spin the breaker bar back around and run her out. You can, I do it sometimes, but it's usually shorter lengths where that's really fun. So ratcheting action might be a winner, especially depending on what you're working on. If it's crusty, greasy, grimy, gunked up stuff, not really fun to spin a breaker bar. If it's new and clean, yes, breaker bar spin for the win. But this little guy right here, very, very versatile. And again, the 173, which is lowered since it launched, that's kind of a cool thing. If you can find it on Tool of the Day, maybe a seasonal sale, maybe just a quarterly Stahlwille promotion, that's the time to buy stuff like this that I'd really like that, but I definitely don't need it. Be patient, wait for the big deal, then pull the trigger, take your money, buy some sockets or a socket strip, right? So, with that said, I think that's all I've got for you. Again, I feel pretty good about my choice to give those to my nephew. Again, especially with the green. And when I say green, this is a good question for you. If you're one of the green people, okay, do you want like the typical tool green, the sublime, kind of like we see on these alphas? Or do you want like dark green like we see with this Stahlwille stuff? I'm not sure that they would... If you're a green person, I don't know that you would jump ship, one way or the other. But you probably do have a preference. Some of you might be like, no, this is so much better. Others of you are like, man, yeah, dark green. Your nephew knows what's up. That's a great color choice. Interesting to take note of that. But past that, if you have this telescopic ratchet, how long have you had it? How do you like it? What are you using it on? Do you find any issues, pros or cons? Anything comparable to compare it to? Socket strips, did anyone buy either populated or bare? How are you liking them? And Stahlwille pliers, if you use those, or VBW, how do you like them? How do you think they compare to the other big brands? Feel free to leave your thoughts down below. With that said, you know the drill. If you liked what I do here, I can encourage you to leave a thumbs up. If you like several videos, I encourage you to consider subscribing. If you do that, roll your Ratchet over, jump your Charger across the creek, and ring the bell. YouTube just might notify you that we got new videos every Wednesday and Saturday, 9 a.m. Texas time. With that said, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Most importantly, I hope I catch you back here for more action from the shop.